This is the Soul-Filled Sisterhood podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole Burgess, licensed marriage and family therapist and an empowerment mentor for women. The information shared in this podcast is not a substitute, nor is it to convey professional, psychological, financial, or medical advice. If you could use such services, please seek them out from someone you trust. Now here is today's episode. Episode 123. Today's episode is sponsored by Nicole Burgess, leadership and empowerment coach to all the passionate, high-achieving professional women so they can do what they love without sacrificing their personal life. If you are liking what you're hearing on the Soul-Filled Sisterhood podcast, I encourage you to go out to iTunes and leave me either a star rating and/or go in there and put in an actual review itself. It helps with the algorithms, which then helps promote the podcast for other women to find it when they're searching in iTunes. Thank you again for your support. Now here is today's episode. Well, welcome, sisters. Okay, today I want to talk about one of my favorite things that I thought I had talked about before, but when I was going back and looking at all the different podcast episodes, I didn't see anything very specific about this topic, which is doing vision boards or collage work and coming more from the soul, which is really like soul-led or your soulful meditation, basically on what you're bringing into your life. It's not coming from a place of fear. It is literally coming from deep desires of where you're truly authentic. You're allowing those visions that you have for yourself, your life, your business, your relationships being shown through images and words. So if I have talked about it before in certain episodes, wonderful. Then I'm going to specifically talk about it right now, though. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up, because at the time of this recording, we're in December, and the new year is getting ready to unfold. And when anytime you do review work or you're doing intention work, right? You want to live life intentionally. You want to live life, what I like to say is more soul-led. And that means intentional, that you're aligned with your values and that you're making conscious decisions every day. You're not just blindly letting things getting tossed in your life and you're just like, oh, whatever, I just kind of go with it. That means you're existing, but you're not really thriving. And I know for many of my highly sensitive clients, they are very visual women. And so when they have visual cues, when they have visual reminders, it helps keep them on track. And I know it helps me as well. And part of why I wanted to bring this up today is because over the last few months, I've had a couple different conversations with friends, two different ones specifically, and I was sharing a couple dreams I had with them or desires of what I want my life to unfold for. And again, vision boarding is about that future that you're wanting to have, the future that the way you want to see your life or the things that you want to have in your life in the future. And I think it's really powerful work. So for both of them, I was giggling because these different things I was sharing with them, each one of them like, do you have that on your vision board? Have you created a collage around that? And I was like, yes, it's on my board. Yes, I have all the details there of what I want to bring into my life. Part of the power, I think, of vision boards or collage work is it works also on that very unconscious level. Meaning when you're looking at it, when you're pulling pictures, when you're pulling words that resonate with you, that gravitate towards you, that to me, it's coming from a very deeper level. And this isn't something that you just slap together and go like, oh yeah, I think that's what I want in my life. This really means you give yourself pause. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know I'm very much about being led by your soul, really creating soulful intentions, being soul-filled. And what I mean by soul is that deep inner knowing, and you're more connected, I like to say vertically, meaning with God, with the higher power, with the universe. And it's not coming from a egotistical space. It's not coming from the labels that are slapped on you. It's not coming from all these constructs that you're living from. It's like, no, these are the dreams and desires I have at such a very, very deep level. There's soul work, which is that vertical work, versus the horizontal. Here's the to-do list. Here's kind of what is going to happen today, or how, the things I have lined up for the day. The vision board, again, like I said, it helps you, or it can help really keep you on track for the things that you want to do in your life. So one thing I had on my vision board that I didn't actually recognize that I have actually done this. Years ago, I had actually stuck a picture of a woman. She was behind a podium where she was given a presentation about the work-life balance. And you know me, I love to say harmony versus balance. And she was up there presenting. So I took her picture, and then I found a picture of my own face, and I stuck my picture up there. Then I inserted my name, and I said something more along the lines of, Nicole is in front of women discussing the work-life balance, harmony. And I've done a presentation for iHeartRadio, a local chapter here in Indianapolis, and I absolutely loved it. They invited me to come earlier. I think it was just this year. They invited me to come and talk about self-care. And again, one of my favorite topics, but it's all about having that balance, right? These women, they were talking about their work schedule. They were talking about raising families and just feeling pulled in so many different directions. And so I talked about various tools they could use and what they were making different things mean, and did a lot of work around that. And so I was like, I really, truly just was re-looking at that going, oh, I've done that and I want to do some more of that. So part of what that is you can put things on the board or envision things, and some train of thoughts for some, people I have heard, they say, you kind of put it up there and then you forget it. For me, I don't necessarily forget it. I keep going back to that. I literally can look at it every single day. So when I'm working with clients, that vision board I have is literally in front of me. So I see these images, and that keeps it really conscious for me. But it doesn't mean I'm needing to push to make that thing happen, whatever that may be. It's just like, oh yeah, that keeps me very in alignment with what it is I'm wanting in my life. And like I said earlier, if it's something that I no longer desire, then I can remove that, or I can replace that on the board. I know for some of you, you're really tech savvy. I have a colleague of mine. I did a group with her a couple years back, and she really encouraged us to do like a digital collage work and keeping things in the forefront of our minds. And for me, that just didn't work for me as well. But I have other colleagues of mine who they love the digital process. So like you can go out to Canva and you can actually create a virtual digital kind of vision board, or you can do a Pinterest board, things that really just kind of pull your dreams into this space where you can look at it. And then you can have it as a screensaver. You can have it on your phone, whatever you want. I personally am still very a tactile person, so I like to see it in real life. I like to have it up versus everything be on my computer or on my phone. I just like the paper stuff. And so I've gotten like magazines from family members, and that's how we do recycling. I just grab some of those things and cut out the stuff that I'm really wanting. And I used to, when I had an office, I actually had drawers full of words and pictures and images and things like that for people to use when we did collage work together. And again, this is something I learned actually back in grad school, to just keep going through and sometimes ripping pages out of your magazines that you're going to recycle, and just hold the page. There may be something later on that you're like, yeah, that's it. That's the word that's really grabbing me right now. That's really resonating with me. Look at, again, your whole life, because you're a whole person. What are things that you're wanting in your business or your career? What are things that you're wanting in your personal life? What are things you are wanting in your relationships? What are things that you're wanting in your financial arena? What are things that you're wanting that define self-care? What are you wanting that define your, just that brings you joy, that brings you the creativity you want? Having all those various things on your vision board, and it can be a big board. Remember, I took like construction paper. I had 4 or 5 pieces that I literally just taped together, and then that became my working platform. You can get poster board, you can get whatever you want, basically, that to hold your images, and then just glue them down. And again, some people I know, they've like, oh, I've created this and I put it away. And then, 5 years down the road, I unpacked this box and there was my vision board. And oh my gosh, I had done all these things. Again, that to me is when you're really connected with your soul, when you're connected to that deeper part of you, you start to manifest, bring in these things onto your path and make that happen. You also take these small steps to say, yeah, I'm wanting to live a more balanced life in the sense of I'm wanting to have more harmony. I'm wanting to stop work at the time I say I want to stop work versus working, 10, 15, 16 hours a day, 6 days out of the week because I'm burning out. I'm wanting to have, friendships in my life where there's truly deep connection and there's a give and take in the relationship versus it just seeming to be one side. I'm wanting to meet more highly sensitive women or people and creating, just truly that connection with them. Whatever it may be for you, that's what you're capturing and putting on your board. So I have, a dream home, something that, has all these various characteristics of what it is that I want. I have certain places that I want to travel to, again, one day when we're able to do that. These are things that, again, they may happen within the year. They may happen 6 months, 5 years, 10 years down the road. It really doesn't matter, but it's things that are meaningful to you. Now, with the vision board, I personally have it up because I want to see it all the time. I have been to, I don't know how many different retreats and read different information. Like if you've had something like a spiritual kind of epiphany, a spiritual moment, and there's something that profoundly changed you and you're like, ooh, I'm going to put that on my board because again, it's something that your soul is calling you to do type of thing. You may not want other people to see this. You may not want to share it with other people. And I've had the different teachers and writers who've talked about this. They say the reason why you don't necessarily want to share those moments with people outside that specific experience that you had is you can end up very disappointed, right? They're not going to get the movement, the aha, the just enlightenment that you had in that moment, and keep it very sacred, keep it very close to your heart. So the vision board, the soul-led, the soulful vision board that you're creating, something that is very dear and deep to you, meaningful to you, you may choose to put it behind a door that only you get to see, or you're putting it somewhere that you're like, yep, I know it's there and I can pull it out whenever I want to look at that. But I don't want any feedback from my family members. I don't want any feedback from friends. I don't want any feedback from my partner. I don't want anyone to comment like, well, why do you have that on there? What is that? Oh my gosh. If you have somebody in your life that you can totally trust and they stay open to whatever you put on there and there's no judgment, where they're not going to project their fears onto you, which ladies, that I have to say is really rare, because when you're dreaming big, it can bring up a lot of fears of inside of others, and they will project that onto you so they can get snarky about questioning. But if they have their own insight, they're secured within themselves, and again, you trust them, then have it up, show it up, it's all good. But if you are concerned about others, asking about it, talking about it, giggling about it, then keep that very sacred. Remember, this is your soul work, and you do not need to put it up there like I've got a space where I'm able to do that. You don't have to do that. It's a choice, but this is what's working for you. All right, I guess so your action step, I want you first and foremost, get clear on, do you want an actual paper one or do you want a digital one? Either one is totally okay. But I want you to give yourself some space, and you don't have to do all of this in a day. You can do this over, a week, couple weeks, continue to add to it. It's like mine is literally, it's like a living and breathing vision board for me. So things like I said, there's a certain image on there that I'm like, yeah, nope, that's no longer applicable. I don't have that desire anymore. It just doesn't speak to me. So I will remove it, or I'm going to cover it up with a different image or a different word or words. So I let it be this living, breathing thing for me. So decide first, paper or digital. Decide whether or not you're going to make multiples or you just want to do one big one. And then start to get quiet and like I said earlier, tap into, it's like the meditation time, tap into, or go back to episode 1 where I do a lot of that, the self-reflection and the contemplation. Tap into, is there a certain dollar amount you want to make? Or what does being financially free, what does that look like for you? What's that sound like for you? And start to pull words and images that resonate in that area. For your relationships, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What sort of images brings you to that, right? If you dream of traveling, adventure, if you dream of, creativity, because again, these are part of your values, you're tapping into all those different areas of your life and like bringing it to the forefront through these images and words. Ask family members, ask neighbors, ask friends if they have old magazines that they no longer want. I know in the library, our library here, they used to, they'll get rid of old magazines. So you may contact your local library and ask if they have old magazines that what they want to get rid of. We have a bookstore here called Half Price Books, and I know they will sell magazines. Again, it's another way to recycle things, but you can get them at low fees, or you can go out and print out the words or images that you want, or if you've got a photo of a certain place or thing that you want, whatever you want to put on that, you can. And like I said, you don't have to do I wouldn't recommend trying to do all of this in one day. Do this over a couple weeks and just watch it evolve and shift for you. Then decide, where do you want to place it? Do you want it to be visually seen? Do you have a safe way for that to be visually shown? Where again, if you're going to get quote feedback, whether it's feedback you're asking for or the feedback you've not asked for, you can also put parameters around that, right? Limits around people like, hey, I'm putting this up. This is for me. I don't need your feedback. I don't want your questions about this. It's like, I'm not asking for any of that. This is for me. And just make it really clear what it is you want and what you don't want. So think about where you're going to place this. Again, you do not have to have this up. There are some people, right, when they write their dreams out and then they bury it, right? And that just releases what that is, right, to the universe, to higher power type of thing. That decision is up to you. So that is your action step. Before the next year unfolds, do your soul-led vision board. Do your soul-led collage work. If you've got one already, go look at it and see if there's more updates. Look and reflect. Are there things that I've accomplished on this that, wow, I just hadn't even noticed? It's really important, I believe, this is part of my stance, that you give yourself space to dream and capture those desires that are truly coming from such a deep place from you, because it'll help you stay intentional in your own life for what is calling you and not letting all the fears drive you. It's really letting that deeper part of you run the show. All right, ladies, until next time, take care. Thank you for listening. If you haven't already, I invite you to go out to iTunes and please leave an honest rating and review. In the podcast world, this really helps other women find the podcast and they can see if it resonates with others out there. So I really appreciate all your support and leaving me a rating.